In this video, we're going to be talking about the developing drama between Juliana and Michael. Now, if you haven't already seen my video from yesterday where I discussed Michael's statement, then I highly recommend going back and watching that first. Because in that video, I said this wasn't amicable and it wasn't as civil as he wants us to believe. And boy oh boy, have I turned out to be right. So, Juliana has released her own statement and she's come back firing. Here's what she has to say. Happy 2-year anniversary and the couple of years together, Michael. As you well said, only our second anniversary and our last. You pointed the COVID-19 as one of the reasons we are no longer together, but we all know that there are more than that. I am grateful for all the lessons and moments that we got to spend together and the beautiful memories with your family. As well, you pointed out, we went through a lot together. The COVID was a hard time, but the hardest part for me was to picture you as someone that would be by my side, and unfortunately, you showed something completely different. As everyone, we went through a hard time financially, but it was not a problem for me to help you, the kids, ex-wife and her husband financially because I was the only one working at the time. But we all know how the situation wears out. I wasn't part of the family anymore. I was feeling like a maid. It was toxic to a point I was not living the life I wanted to live. I needed to leave because I wasn't recognizing who I am anymore. I left my life in Europe and career to live with you because I loved you, but I love myself more, to the point to recognize I am important and I want to be happy. You say I have found someone new, but the truth is I found happiness within myself. I am happy with the new phase and I ask you to let me go. Stop making me feel guilty to put myself as the most important person because this is how we're supposed to do. I apologise for the way this happened, but we talked multiple times about it and you never seem to listen or try to understand me. Girls and boys, if you're in a relationship and you're not happy and you know it doesn't matter what you do, this will not work out, stand up for yourself. Don't be afraid to live your best life because you're afraid of what people will think. You are the only person that knows what you've been through. Everyone deserves respect, protection, understanding, love and kindness. Your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. Someone who values you wouldn't ever put themselves in a position to lose you. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. Don't be afraid to start over. It's a brand new opportunity to rebuild what you truly want. Accept what is, let go of what was, and have faith in what will be. I wish you all the best, MJ. Peace and happiness to everyone. Okay, so yet again there's a lot to unpack here, and while they seem civil, Juliana clearly isn't happy about what Michael put out and she wants everyone to know her side of the story. So here's what I think is interesting from what she's put out. Straight away, she's refuting Michael's claim that their relationship is a quote COVID casualty, which is what he said yesterday. She literally says, we all know that there's more to it than that. So, Juliana, tell us what happened. Well, here's where she comes out fighting. First, she says, sure, COVID was hard, but, quote, the hardest part for me was to picture you as someone that would be by my side, and unfortunately you showed something completely different. Now, it's all pretty cryptic and guarded at this stage, but something clearly happened during COVID that left Juliana feeling like Michael totally neglected her. And from yesterday's statement, he agrees. Now, we don't know what exactly that is, whether it's his business failing or just the general funk of being in a lockdown. It's not clear why he neglected her, or it's not even clear what form that took, but they're both in agreement here. And then the first real bombshell, quote, as everyone, we went through a hard time financially, but it was not a problem for me to help you, the kids, the ex-wife and her husband financially because I was the only one working at the time. But we all know how the situation wears out. I wasn't part of the family anymore. I was feeling like a maid. Wow, that is huge. So she doesn't just say it was a problem to support the family, she lists everyone out just so that we're all clear. She wants everyone to know she was even supporting Michael's ex-wife Sarah and her husband Sean. Not only that, but she was left feeling alienated like a maid at the end of it. Now, as I briefly discussed yesterday, Sarah and Sean, her husband, were living with Michael and Juliana during lockdown. And yeah, that's a very strange living arrangement that wouldn't work for most people. I guess what's interesting there is, and this is something that we didn't really discuss in the last video, it's why did Sean and Sarah move in with Michael and Juliana during lockdown? Are they going through financial problems too? Like, were they unable to pay for their own way without relying on Michael and then later Juliana? I mean, can we take from this that Michael was funding Sarah's lifestyle perhaps, and then when he went into financial problems, suddenly their money got tight and they couldn't afford their own house? I don't know, it's all theory and speculation. I've got nothing concrete here. They haven't told us exactly why, but it is certainly interesting nonetheless. What we do know about Sean and Sarah is that Sean is a hip hop and rock musician who used to have a drug problem, but he's been clean for over 10 years. I guess as a musician, no concerts or gigs over that entire COVID period would have definitely impacted his earnings. And as for Sarah, we know that in February 2020, so just before the start of all of this craziness with the pandemic, it was revealed that she had breast cancer. And the last update we had about her condition, which was in July of 2020, Michael revealed that Sarah had just finished radiation therapy and was doing much better. Now, there haven't been any public updates since then, and obviously I hope that she's in remission. Maybe that helps to explain things. If she was really poorly during that period and needed some care, I wonder if that played a role in having them all move in together. Maybe that's what Juliana means when she says she felt like a maid. Was she doing extra around the house? I don't know. Either way, that whole maid thing, that shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone. Juliana was dropping hints for a very long time that that's how she felt. So Michael should have been listening and he should have been more attentive. And as for feeling alienated, yeah, I can totally see how that might have happened. I don't think she's lying there. This is a young lady, 20 years younger than the other adults in the house, and she's closer in age to his children, Max and Cece. And also, English isn't her first language, so you've got the age gap, you've got the potential communication issues, no one her own age to interact with, her husband is seemingly neglecting her. I can totally see how, as she says, it was, quote, toxic, and how that would grind on her and how she wasn't recognising who she was, and this wasn't the life she wanted to live. I totally get that. And now let's talk about the, quote, you say I have found someone new, but the truth is I found happiness within myself. She's clearly not happy with Michael here. And in yesterday's video, I called it. I said I don't think it's for Michael to make that announcement. When I was reading that yesterday, it struck me as being kind of bitter and snide for him to say that. And she's totally denying it. She says she's not with someone new. What's the truth? Well, maybe she is with someone new, but she doesn't want to go public. Or maybe she's seeing someone and it's not serious. Heck, maybe Michael has read more into something than he should have, and he's got it totally wrong. Either way, I'm with her on this. If they've split up, that's her business. That's not for Michael to share with the world in his statement, especially if he's trying to pretend that they're still friends. I get why she literally says, quote, stop making me feel guilty. Because, yeah, that is what he's trying to do with saying that she's moved on quickly, don't you think? Listen, my take is, if they're divorced, it's none of his business whether or not she's moved on. Trying to bring that up to everyone's attention was, in my eyes, him trying to guilt trip her. And that's why that line, quote, I ask you, let me go. I think that's very, very striking. I think that's maybe a hint that maybe Michael hasn't been quite so ready to let it all go. I don't know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And then the next interesting point, she says, I apologise for the way this happened, but we talked multiple times about it and you never seem to listen or try to understand me. Now that's interesting. So the fact that she's apologising suggests the way that she left probably wasn't all rainbows and roses. It maybe wasn't a clean break. There was something quite drastic that happened here. Now she doesn't give us answers, but I think that we can read a lot into that. Whatever it was, it's clearly something that she's sorry about. My guess? Well, maybe while she was over in Europe doing her modelling, maybe that's when she decided while she was over there that that was it. Maybe that's when they broke up, perhaps over the phone. Again, it's purely speculation on my part, but I think it's as good a theory as any. And then finally, we get to the part at the end where she talks generically. She says girls and boys if you're in a relationship. But again, I think there's some really interesting clues there. She talks about, quote, standing up for yourself and, quote, everyone deserves respect, protection, understanding, love and kindness. And then, quote, your value doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see your worth. Someone who values you wouldn't ever put themselves in a position to lose you. Now, all of that to me says Michael didn't value her. He didn't give her the respect, protection, love that she needed. And she had enough of it. She put herself first. And that's pretty much what Michael admitted himself in his own statement yesterday. And look, I get it. looking through the comments from yesterday's video, a lot of people don't like Juliana. They're convinced she was a gold digger and she was only after a rich older man who could support her. Now, whether or not her statement, her version of events, has changed your view on her, one thing that you can't deny is Juliana is a strong woman. She's lived a tough life. She's a fighter, and if her life story shows us anything, it's that she'll do whatever she needs to survive. So just to give you some context here, at a young age, she, her mother and her sister were forced to flee from their home to get away from her alcoholic father, and they ended up staying with a family friend. But sadly, that so-called friend subjected Juliana to physical and emotional abuse. Get this, in a YouTube video she released, she alleges that she was made to sleep in a chicken coop and she had her teeth pulled out when she misbehaved. And then, unbelievably, it got even worse. When she was just 9 years old, Juliana was scouted by a supposed model agency. She was sent out to China, and then shockingly, she became the victim of human trafficking, kidnapped by her agency, and forced to work without receiving any pay. When she eventually made it back home to Brazil, and she doesn't elaborate how she did that, but when she did get back, she was forced to support her family by working as a seamstress and working in factories that were okay hiring underage workers. She was the one in her early teens having to financially support her family, pay for her alcoholic father's funeral, even though she'd cut all ties with him and hadn't seen him or spoken to him in years. And then at 17 years old, that was when she entered her first marriage, an arranged marriage. And that one only lasted 11 months. So yeah, there's no doubting that this is a tough lady who's been through a lot. And what I'd say is, for anyone saying she used Michael, I think that one goes both ways. I'm not buying that. If she used him, well, guess what? There's just as strong an argument to say he used her too. He went into this eyes wide open. This is a man 2 decades older than her with a young model on his arm. Come on, he knew the risks. I'm just surprised he didn't get a prenup. So let's continue the conversation in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Does Juliana's statement change anything for you? Are you team Michael or team Juliana? And don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, do me a favour, show your support by hitting that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.